with the insomouth case. Boston, Massachusetts. We're fans of the strange world of insomouth, but we recognize the problematic beliefs of H.P. Lovecraft. This game has been produced by a group of people who believe in inclusion and equality. Your progress in the story will be saved at the end of each chapter. There are 35 chapters in total. At the end of a chapter, the screen fades to black and a green save icon appears at the bottom right of the screen. We recommend you always end the game after such a save point to make sure none of your progress is lost. Boston, September 21st. Boston, Massachusetts. When uh-oh. Okay. The last rays of sunshine filter through the blends of your empty office. The pathetic stench of whiskey, cold cigarettes, smoke, and canned ravioli fills the air. The screeching tires and constant beeping of car horns out there on the street tell you that it's gone 8 p.m. People are on their way home, finishing their day. You should join them. You decide. Let me stay. Your day was long and frustrating. You're running out of ideas on how to handle the calls of people who want money from you. A cold shiver runs down your spine as you flick through a pile of unpaid bills. On the top of the pile is a reminder from your landlady. You're 2 months behind on the rent. The next one is a 3-figure invoice from a game company for in-app purchases. You try to claim them as business expenses in your last investigation, but somehow your client refused to pay. Then there's the second reminder from your internet provider threatening to cut off your connection. You might take legal action because without the internet, you can't work or live. You really need more in-app purchases? No. Your lawyer, a cigarette, a little fresh air. You look for your lawyer's phone number and find it on an overdue final reminder with a note that her services will no longer be available to you. Right. That story. You breathe a deep sigh. It may not have been a successful day, but at least it's over. You're looking forward to a classic Friday night, watching old mystery series at home in sweatpants and getting drunk on cheap booze. Since the early afternoon, you have been staring at the foreboding bottle of liquor at the other end of the room. Up until now, a vague sense of professionalism has kept you from drinking yourself into oblivion. Now nothing stands in the way. The door slowly cracks open with a timid creak. The unknown guest pauses. Then in a breathy and melodic tone, you hear a woman utter, "Hello." You're inside a cramp. You suddenly realize that you haven't cleaned your office at all this year. I would quickly try to... I'm going to answer by what I would do in this scenario. Wait a minute, wait. You shout in a pitch that is at least 2 octaves higher than intended. There's no time to pick up all the crumpled pieces of paper on the floor. You gaze across the total mess on your desk. A weird, undefinable cross has formed on the wood. You've never noticed that before. You try to hide it by putting some unpaid bills over them. They get stuck immediately. Nice. By the light of the desk lamp, you now see more than a silhouette. A breathtaking woman lights up your office. No doubt older than 40, maybe even 50. Hard to say. Clad in black, a skin-tight dress culminating in a décolleté that seems to defy the laws of gravity. A smoky eyeshadow, as dark as algae, was assured. Blondie coiffed, wavy hair under a dark barrette. The faint light of the setting sun catches in the strands of her hair, and you wonder how many heads this woman must have turned during her prime. She's completely different from your usual customers. Nervous bankers with sweat stains under their armpits, convinced their wives have something going with their mailman. Every move she makes is calculated grace. Smooth as an eel, she walks towards you and sits down on the corner of your desk. I think it's a little bold. It wouldn't blush me. Which is a little bold, without asking you first, but as a professional, you're not giving anything away. She seems to want to play the seductive damsel in distress. The quiet, amused voice of your subconscious is pleased that this stronger may be sharing your enthusiasm for film noir cliches. A far louder voice is surprised that this woman seems to think that a sexy pose and revealing clothes could win you over, and both voices agree that they don't like being manipulated. You don't think that the stronger perch on your table is trying to recover from a hard working day as a lingering model, and therefore you see no logical reason for her behavior. My name is Dahlia March. I'm looking for a private investigator. I was told you're one of the best. You've come to the right place, lady. What can I do for you? You sit back in your chair and fold your hands over your stomach. The woman seems a little irritated that her provocative behavior seems to have had no effect on you. She moves from the edge of the desk and sits down on the chair opposite to you. Yes, She clears her throat. As she continues to speak, the smoky seductiveness creeps back into her voice. It's about my daughter, Tabitha. She has disappeared. You're pulling out paper and pencil. This is gonna be a walk in the park, a walk in the kidnapped kids park. Well, when did you last see her, and where? The woman puts on a fake smile. We live in Insomouth. It's a small port town north of Arkham. You frown. This is a bit vague. This is a bit vague. What was your child doing when you last saw her? What hobbies does she have? Oh, kid stuff. They just run around and play with their yo-yos and that sort of things. Yo-yos. I don't need to know about her father. Doesn't have anything. JoJo's doesn't have anything to do. She's only 8, and the sweetest girl you can imagine. She's been missing without a trace since last week. None of her schoolmates have seen her, and no one knows where she might have gone. She hands you a photo. Look, this is my little munchkin. Good heavens, is this supposed to be a joke? Is that really the face of a child? Or a shooty photo edit? Are you being filmed as a part of a reality TV show? A bit of stomach acid and the last bite of lunch slowly but surely make their way up into the back of your mouth. With narrow eyes, you swallow the bile and involuntarily pull a face. Dahlia continues to look at you hopefully. She obviously didn't notice your little mishap. That was close and could have been unpleasant. I'm so desperate. Her eyes lock with yours. That's more questions. Does your daughter have any friends she might be staying with? Classmates, sport clubs, members, anything like that? Dahlia silently shook her head. Very strange. You're about to ask if the girl at least had imaginary friends, but you hold back. What about Tabitha's father? Are you separated? Often children reappear with family members. Dahlia smiles sadly. My little one can't swim well enough for that yet. Your pen remains on the same spot on the notepad. What was that supposed to mean? Excuse me, but you're struggling to find the right words to respond to such a cryptic statement. What the hell do you mean by that? The kid can't swim enough? Dahlia turns up her nose. She doesn't seem comfortable with you asking personal questions. Still, she responds, "Oh, just an old saying in our village." She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Dahlia turns her gaze away from you and looks dreamily, no longer out of the window. Her father was a fisherman, like most in the village. A few years ago, he went out to sea but never returned. His boat was washed ashore weeks later. His colleagues told me that he had finally followed the call of the waves. You keep quiet for a moment. Deceased family members are always a sensitive object. They are. You never know, but they are. My sincere condolences. She seems calm. Oh, somehow, I always knew the moment would come. I think my husband is in a better place now, and at some point, I'll join him. You take a closer look at Dahlia's outfit. Judging by her behavior and clothes, you never would have taken her to be a fisherman's wife. Hold on. Yo-yos. Ring ring. Can you hear that? And the night is calling. It's the night is calling, and they want their outdate toys back. Dahlia blushes. Normally you would find this quite attractive, but the case of a missing girl beckons, and you're utterly unconvinced by the way this woman pretends to be a mother. Something's fishy here. You have a nose for this sort of thing. That's why you became a private investigator. Or to be more precise, that's why you took an online detective course that for a one-off fee provided the necessary qualifications. What the fuck? It's time to take your visitor to a task. You can never ask your daughter really disappeared. She's never gonna answer. Let me ask this one. Did you get out of your chair? Insomouth. It's several miles away from here. Why do you want to hire me? I wouldn't even hire myself. Dahlia crossed her arms. Right now, I just want the truth. You're sticking to your principles. That's exactly what your instructor warned you about. Still, it feels good. Dahlia takes a step back and releases her tightly crossed arm. I've already tried lots of other investigators. Anyone who seems trustworthy, really, but no luck. That's why I'm coming to you. I have no further questions. You mumble, more to yourself than to her. Dahlia stretches her neck imperceptibly, no doubt she would like to take a look at your notebook. Your pen hovers over the notes you've taken. Missing daughter, Dachi lady. That's it. You've worked with less. You nod. A missing persons case, nothing unusual. The conventional little girl runs away from home after reading her first romance novel. Usually they hide at the edge of the forest or in a library. Should be pretty straightforward. Before you can say anything, she drops a photo of the child and a roll of bills on your desk. For your expenses. You nod slowly, trying not to drool down the front of your shirt. You haven't seen this much money in ages. You don't have much time to prepare. A quick search reveals that only one bus goes to insomouth and only once a day. A pattern emerges in your research. The few news items related to this little coastal town are all about missing persons. In addition, you find some rather old-fashioned articles that praise the coastal town as a secret holiday destination. The best fish, untouched beach promenade, authentic fishing people are the recurring buzzwords. Dahlia has given you the address at which you're supposed to drop off her daughter. As soon as you find her, she also wrote down her phone number on the child's photo. You take another look at the photo before you pack your things. Seaside, that photo looks so weird. I wouldn't hitchhike. Why would I hitchhike? I'm gonna go on the bus. By the way, does this have trophies? What the fuck it does? Spend a night with Dahlia, o sea, hook up with Dahlia. Become friends with Jonna. Use dirty methods to avoid payment. Overpower the gapper. Okay, I don't know. Cool enough, I don't know. Your journey begins at the Bossy bus station. There's supposed to be a bus line that departs from here to insomouth. Buses, you think to yourself, are not only an environmentally friendly means of transportation, they're also easy on your wallet. Sadly, the departure boards aren't of much help. New York, Maine, Rhode Island, no trace of insomouth as a destination. You wander around for a while until you notice a cleaner eating a sandwich on the side of one of the vending machines. Excuse me, where can I find the bus to? Without letting go of a sandwich, the cleaner points to an abandoned counter in the dingiest corner that a public bus station could be capable of. The man gives you a nod, indicating that anything that can be said has indeed been said. You find that the counter is elaborately decorated with cobwebs. It's a bit early for Halloween preparations, but at least someone's made an effort. At the moment, nobody seems to be there. You press your face against the plastic window to peer into the room behind. Hello? Hello, is anyone there? I have to go to insomouth. No one there. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a bus ticket appears on the counter. Might the trip be free? You're a staunch defender of the law. It goes without saying that you pay. You put a few coins in the bowl underneath the foggy glass window. Hopefully, they won't be stolen by the next passenger. Even if someone were sitting behind the counter, you wouldn't be able to see him. It's just too dark. You're distracted for a few seconds, and suddenly, there's some change on the counter. What's that? in Among Us coins? A small golden fishing hook. How strange. Where's this boss hiding? In between the Polish greyhounds and traveling stowing their luggage, saying goodbye and dropping entirely into their seats, there's a kind of dumpster. A dumpster with windows and wheels. No, it's actually a boss. It's a bit on the rusty side, and even from a distance you sense the strange smell it emits. Is that sulfur? Damn. You're not convinced how this thing is supposed to drive. In its vicinity, everything is noticeable, quieter than at the other bus stops. The people getting on show no signs of emotions. Nobody's trying to jump the queue here. Instead, the passengers move past the bus driver at a uniform speed, one after the other, shuffling up the creaking steps. Each two-seater bench is occupied by individuals as they want to make sure not to come into contact with their fellow passengers. The sign clearly says insomouth. No departure times, no stepovers, just insomouth. Undecided. You're standing on the stairs of the bus. Talk to the driver. Show your ticket. This I wouldn't do. I have a ticket. I'm going to talk to him. You stopped. The passengers behind you wait patiently. It's impossible to make eye contact with the driver. He stares regally at his steering wheel. After all, he seems to be a focused driver. Excuse me, sir. No reaction. You look over your shoulders and still the people in the line behind you remain calm. You hand the driver the ticket. No reaction. At least you can make out a reaction. The lining is poured and the shadows of his dusty driver's cap covers almost his entire face. You notice something strange on his neck, but you can't quite make out what it might be. You're standing in the door waiting for an okay, a nod, anything. The sulfur odor has increased. A queue has formed behind you, but no one's pushing or complaining. Just keep walking, bro. You shuffle sideways to the center aisle. You don't remember the bus looking this long from the outside. You're surrounded by shabby two-seater benches, and some are already occupied. One traveler per row. The last bench is free. Looks like the upholstery torn in some places, though, or has it been slid open? You can see springs with sharp wire edges and some sticky liquid seems to have leaked onto the floor. Why didn't you just sit down in one of the free rows? Here in the back, almost everything's occupied. Most of the passengers seems to have purposely sat down in the aisle seats, blocking off the window seats. Maybe this is an opportunity to get a little closer to the common and small visitor. The rear bench. I mean, I personally wouldn't sit next to someone. But if I don't, as a nonconformist, join one of the passengers in the double seat. Since only one man was so considerate as to sit at the window, your options are limited anyways. As far as you can tell, the man is a hugger figure with barely any luggage. The hood of the grey jumper pulled off far onto his face. The man looks out onto the streets as if something very important is happening there that requires his attention. Is this seat taken? You ask politely. He turns his head and gives you a brief once over. Without saying a word, he turns away again. That guy looks so fucking weird. I would just move, but I'm just gonna move. You've always been the cold outsider. At least that's what you like to tell yourself. So you take the back row, which you have all for yourself. The ride won't take that long, will it? You wish you had paid a little more attention to the map. The smell of sulfur rises into your nose again. You try to sit down carefully, with tearing your clothes on the wire springs of the seat caution. Suddenly a jolt. You can't balance and you're pressed into your seat by the most mysterious of all invisible forces, gravity. The bus starts without any warning. Because of the abrupt start, a bunch of yellowed paper has rolled across the dirty floor right in front of your feet. You picked it up, look at a newspaper, insomouth illustrated, from April last year. According to a faded sticker, the subscriber of the newspaper was a certain C.G. Jung. The insomouth illustrated actually offers a lot of entertaining articles. All these features and listicles give the impression that at the end of this trip, you find yourself in an adorable, up-and-coming tourist metropolis. A real insider tip. I mean, I'm going to keep reading until it doesn't let me read. You decide to read every damn article in this paper. Preparation's everything, as you know. And apart from that, you're bored to death. You find out that insomouth has a boardwalk and that even a beach bar was open last year. Finally, you discover the crossword puzzle, which turns out to be quite difficult. Quite a lot of fish-related terms. See you later. What? Yep, you got that one, but you got stuck on a marketing passage but with H or a toll road. That's difficult for you at the moment, and you throw the newspaper in the corner. Finally, your eyes close. The rest of the ride, you sleep peacefully. The bus leaves the country road and turns off at a wooden sign that says insomouth in red flaky letters. The journey continues rather bumpily along a narrow, dirty road littered with numerous potholes. In the distance, some houses are already visible. Seagulls circling the roofs of the outermost edge of the city. Slowly, all passengers take their bags out from under the seats and get ready. The front window, the side window. That's odd. The bus passes by a huge... What is this? Scrapyard? Parking lot? Why would something like this be here, right outside the city? You pass another wooden sign whose half-peeled reading advertises the insomouth park and ride area. A lot of cars look like they've been sitting here for years. Sand covers some of the bonnets and windscreens. The front door of the bus opens with a squeak, and you join the monotonous line of locals stepping out of the bus as if in a daze. Almost walking in a step, you all get closer to the exit. As you walk down the steps, you have to protect your eyes from the sunlight. Turns out the windows of the bus were tinted. The other passengers shuffle off. Yo, what chapter am I in? What chapter am I? Where does it say what chapter am I on? I guess it doesn't. Finally, insomouth. You examine your surroundings while you stretch your legs trying to unwind from the stressful journey. This is a good game. It's been 30 minutes. It's reading. I'm reading a book, but in a good way, it's a good book. No artist could have adequately captured the serenity and beauty of this place. A clear blue sky lights up the town square, which is paved with bright limestone and surrounded by neo-colonial buildings reminiscent of 19th century New England. A fresh sea breeze, crying seagulls, and locals going about their business. In the center of the square, water trickles from a fountain. As you stretch your limbs and breathe in the clean air, you're surroundedly startled by the water features right in front of you. The fountain is an enormous fish-like brass creature, an open jawline with shark-like fangs spot brackish waters around its massive, inhumanly contoured body. As if that wasn't enough, there appears to be human bodies squirming underneath its massive claws. Their faces are as contoured as yours and right now. How long have you been standing here? Eyes wide open in shock. You feel utterly paralyzed. You start to scan the town square and notice more and more disturbing detail. On every corner, you spot ornamental statues and reliefs of fish. But these are not your classic harmless kind of fish. They're pagan symbols and grimaces of a supernatural creature from the darkest caves of the deep sea. In surrounding houses, you can see faces pressed against the window. All the locals appear to be watching you. You suddenly start to think that the cries of the seagulls sound particularly humane-like. They sound like humans crying out in pain. What happened to the idyllic scene from a few moments ago? Welcome to insomouth. Welcome to insomouth. How nice of you to visit. A small elderly woman waves at you from afar. She beams at you as if you were her long-lost grandchild. She seems very different to the boys you've met so far. On the bus into town, her squealing shakes you out of your nightmare panic. It's so good to have you here. I've noticed you've been taken by our local fountain. It was built in 1704 by Abdul Necrotic's favorite artist and friend of Charles Dexter Tillinghast, the founder of Innsmouth. The central figure was the president and he was supposed to commemorate they traveled together to Cairo. You can clearly see the Egyptian influences in necrotic works. Here, and here, and here. She points wildly in every direction. And here! But I'm sure you've already noticed this yourself. You look like someone who knows his way around art. She says with a wide smile. You're still in shock. I'm an art historian, of course. She enthusiastically starts clapping and squealing. A small plump person in a garage costume will finish off all her sentences with a delighted chuckle. Oh, I noticed that at once. How rude of me. I haven't even introduced myself. My name is Muriel Papagangsi. I'm the director of the Police Commission, chief tourism officer, and head of the Welcome In, Come In. Ta-da! Wow. Very energetic lady. My goodness, why don't you take the city map to begin with? Useful. You take the map and put it into your code packet. Would you like to find out more about your wonderful town which has been awarded the East Coast Stunning? Sure. She begins unfolding one of her maps and points at 3 different locations in the town. The town center here should be the next stop on your trip. There's a lively and incoming shopping street in Insomouth, and since May our local fountain has ever had running water. Muriel starts waving her index finger at you. I know what you're thinking. This town is being too shafty for its own good, but I can assure you we'll all keep their feet on the ground, even after the whole day with the East Coast Stunning Tourist Award. Her finger now points to a different area on the map. The old town of Innsmouth is completely preserved. You think that nothing was ever done to the facades of the old houses within 4 miles of here. You won't find any buildings. Okay. Thanks. Thank you very much, ma'am. Miriam seems delighted. Nothing gives me more pleasure than ensuring visitors have a great time in our pretty little town. Will you be staying for a few nights? I can only recommend staying as long as you can. There's just so much to see. Trust me, by the end of your stay, you won't want to leave. Muriel's enthusiasm quickly faded from her eyes, and she drops her hand, which was still holding the colorful flowers. I hope you find what you're looking for. Have a great time. Her eyes move past you and settle on a tourist family right behind you. Seemingly, at the flick of a switch, she's back to her gleeful demeanor, bouncing over to the family and waving her brochures. Interesting. You head farther into town along the cobbled road in the direction of the coast. Not long ago, the sun was bright in the sky, but already the first wafts of mist are creeping into the streets. The air feels thicker, and the sun can no longer penetrate the fog. Time to think about where you want to go. You slow down, you lean your briefcase against the wall, and start pacing up and down the quiet alleyway. You've got an important choice to make right now. The city center is in the north. Even from afar, you can see the outlines of the old and alternately decorated building in the main town square. Here you should find the police station, the main shopping street, and of course, the town hall. You expect there to be mostly tourists. According to your research, the only hotel in town, the Gilman Hotel, is located in the old town. You think about checking in. You could do it with a freshening up and getting rid of the box smell that is still clinging to your clothes. Just as you're about to set off, your heart leaps into your throat. You've forgotten your briefcase. This has never happened to you. You usually take good care of the little things you possess. There's nothing you can do about it right now. You'll have to wait until your return journey to find out whether someone has handed it in at the lost and found. Still, you could swear that the briefcase was already gone when you got out of the bus. I'm going to the hotel. I feel like checking in first is best. And I'm gonna if I continue, I'm gonna be in the yeah. Okay, so perfectly fine. For the insomnia case, I'm gonna leave it here for now. Load chapter. Until next time.